duties that you all have after the loss. On 13 here, um, you all must provide a proof of loss within 180 days. So right now, we're at 90, right, give or take. So that means that you would have to be able to produce a comprehensive proof of loss to the carrier. Make sure you make a claim. So that should happen almost, as my grandmother used to say, immediately. And and um, and then you got to make sure that you have enough time for the experts, and we'll basically bring those in to be able to put together a comprehensive proof of loss for your city and say, hey, this is what it is. Historically, just by way of a little bit of background, as little as 3 years ago, you would have 5 years in order to be able to adjust and amend your claim. Then the legislature said no, because under pressure from the carriers, no, we don't want that. We're going to chop it down to 3. Then they chopped it down to 2. Now they've chopped it down to 1 year plus 18 months. So now what has to happen is you've got to be pretty close. People say, oh well, I'm going to preserve my rights and just put in a claim. And they put in a claim for $1 million, and they come back 5 years later and they say it's $200 million. That's not going to fly. So you need to be close to what the number is that you think that it's going to be, which is why you need to engage the experts early and often in order to be able to get there. I think that's pretty much it. Was that 7 minutes or less?
Yeah, that was really good. So, just a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
So I'm clear, you guys would come in and just provide like just an overview of exactly your services, what you would do for the city, basically, like what you would come in and do, what it would cover, and fees and those kind of things.
Yeah, so basically the way in which we operate is we're 100% contingency, okay? So typically we charge 8% to the municipalities and the housing authority. We already have a contract with the Live Oak Housing Authority. And so if you all recover $1, we get 8 pennies, okay? We front load the costs for the experts. So the engineers, the structural engineers, the microbial growth, air quality engineers, all of these things, we front load that. The wind experts, right? The window experts, we will front load that. We will then also put together a package that will be able to be leveraged with your FEMA package. Because guess whose package is going to go through FEMA first? The one that's airtight, right? So
yeah, so I understand too. So on the recovery, I'm clear on that. This is all recovery from FEMA.
No. This is your private carrier, FMIT. Okay, but what I'm saying is that you cut once and use twice. So you'll utilize this for your private insurance piece, and then you'll also be able to utilize it for the FEMA piece. It'll be able to undergird what you're going to put forward for FEMA.
So you guys are.
But we don't do the FEMA piece.
Essentially just maximizing the amount that we recover and expediting the process.
1,000%. You're tracking.
All right, I'm just making sure I understand 100%.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And the cost is how much?
You said 8%.
No. Watch this. But like they say, and there's more. The salient point here is that because you are pursuing your first party property, FEMA has the ability to basically give back those monies, so our 8% back to you as an offset against insurance proceeds. Does that make sense?
It does. And then, as far as, I guess this is for the attorney, as far as getting something like this in place or seeing the viability or whatnot, how does that work as far, on the legal
Well,
aspect?
it's a matter of you enter into a contract with them for that consulting work. And I don't know if I guess the integrity, but you have different choices and you want to put together an agenda item to evaluate and discuss the different alternatives, and we can provide any input on the legal part of it prior to any such agenda item being presented to the council. this would be a matter of contract. We look over their contracts and say, you know, we agree here, we would recommend changing this to this to this. Our firm is very familiar with contingency contracts, so it wouldn't be a big deal to have those analyzed pretty quickly.
And let me just also add that what you have is you've got the public assistance piece, so that's, you know, integrity. We know those guys in Tallahassee. I know Gary personally. And then you have the private, the public adjusting, which is the private insurance piece. We have contracts that you could piggyback on that are already, that have been properly procured. But then the other side of it is that because you're still under a state of emergency, Governor DeSantis extended this, I think, through 60 days, so I think you got now to January 9th. Which means that the normal procurement process can be waived and you can expedite by doing the RFQ as opposed to a full RFP.
You guys have any more questions or concerns? So yeah, I think that where we would go from here is asking for that to be an agenda item that the next meeting, unless we need to do a special call between now and then because it's
Sent me to January 9th, did you say was the deadline?
Yeah, don't quote me on that, but I know that it got extended because it was supposed to be up on the November 22nd. So it could be January 22nd.
another idea that may be warranted as well. Where are your offices out? Naples, you said?
We have offices out of Naples. Indy and I are out of Orlando. We've got an office up in Tallahassee. We've got one in the Panhandle out in Pensacola, North Carolina. You know,
If we were to do a workshop to kind of hammer out more details and
oh yeah, we can come. I mean, we can come back any problem.
Yeah.
I think that might be more along the lines so everybody can get a better grasp, understanding, and kind of the full scope, or we're not just feeling rushed.
Yeah, understood and appreciated
Yeah.
for sure.
So that's something I guess we need to decide upon.
A
Workshop. A workshop, and I guess can you give us dates, available dates and times for that at some point in the next few days so we can decide on that?
And do y'all have a standard contract?
Yes, sir.
If you could get that to Gil to disseminate, then that would expedite the workshop.
No doubt. We will absolutely endeavor to do so.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your time. Thank you all for giving us in. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. All right. We're gonna move on now to item 5A, Mr. Jefferson.
Mr. Chairman, can I speak on that for a second?
Well, actually, no, it's not. I mean, you didn't start up, so. I mean, at the workshop, I'll be glad to let you speak all you want to at the workshop. Yes,
The
sir.
gentleman will be there, because
Yeah, I mean, definitely they'll be back for the workshop, yes, sir. Thank you. All right, Mr. Jefferson, item 5A, which will be the discussion regarding ordinance 1517.
If Mr. Darrell Bridges is not here, we omit that. It was mainly for discussion. So I was supposed to put it on the agenda last month, and I was out. So let's omit that, Mr. President, and we'll move forward.
Well, let's, since it got added to the agenda with a formal vote, we need a motion to table it. Because it is an agenda item that has to be dealt with now that we've decided the issue.
All right, I'll make a motion that we table this item A until further notice.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? All right, agenda 5A is tabled. Moving on to 5A 1 and 2. Trash cans.
Trash cans.
Yes, sir.
All right, board members, council, audience, we've looked at this months ago before our budget came out and all of that. We determined that we could afford the equipment to equip this truck with that we already have to be able to lift up these cans instead of having manpower lift those things up or folks hanging back in the back of garbage truck. We also looked at the cost of 3,000 cans, which would be about $200,000, but we never did come to a conclusion on whether or not, my suggestion was either one or the other, whether or not that we would charge the citizen for the cans, I think about $5 per can for 1 year. You're talking about a 96 gallon can, and if not, we just either give it free or charge something in that manner, but we never did come to a conclusion. So it's 2025 is coming up quickly. This project need to be dealt with because everything has been approved budget-wise and everything else. So I want to know what the council says as far as how we address this here. The cans are donated to the customers, or we do a $5 charge. I think our city manager had a cost in mind, but we need to render a decision tonight if possible.
I think what we brought up was $250. $250 a month, nothing but $5.
Do we know where we stand with the procurement of this? Mr. Gerald, would you like to come up and?
Waiting on the go-ahead to buy them.
You gotta change your ordinance.
Yeah. Gerald Lee, Public Works Director. So on the cans, we have to do a complete ordinance change because in our ordinance it states 34 gallons cans. So we got to get it worded. Me and Mr. Larry and Miss Joanne has been working on that quite diligently last month or so. Probably longer than that, it just time flies. But we've got to get the ordinance changed before we can start implementing these. And then, like I said, the rate increase was included in the budget originally, so the funds should be there. Once we do the ordinance, all that wording would be included in the ordinance. So we have to go through a first hearing and second hearing reading.
Since is there a target date when you all should have this ordinance completed instead of just kicking the can down the road? Do we have a target date in 2025?
We can,
Have by the next meeting if we need to.
yeah.
All right. And Mr. Session, you mentioned $2.50. Was that
$250 a month.
a month for life
Yes, sir.
or for a year?
No, just for life, because if sanitation department, what it'll do is ensure that there's always money in the sanitation department for new trucks, for garbage cans, for everything, for the employment of the employees. It's a residual payment that will keep everybody in the city from having to get additional charges for the sanitation department. Once we do that, that sets a precedent that we won't ever have to raise any sanitation numbers, because it will always help fund everything.
We
We've got
want
5,000 customers, if I'm not mistaken.
3,000. I think that was the number that was given.
Close to 5 or 3?
No, it's gonna be less than 3 because of commercial accounts.
Okay, commercial.
I think y'all getting the population next year.
So, and, hopefully we're gonna grow, but, that's gonna, it's gonna make sure that we get enough money every couple of years to be able to replace garbage trucks too, without having to budget anything like that.
So, Mr. Session, you're saying that we shouldn't have to worry about increasing utilities?
Not for sanitation.
Oh, okay. All right, and then my reasoning was we recoup our money if we did $5 for 12 months, for about 3,000 cans, we recuperate that money. And my other reasoning that give it for free, I think we've leaned on our citizens long enough. They started to give something back and do something for our citizens. That's why I brought up the reasoning for doing it for free, since we have the money already allocated and all that for the cans. So that was my reasoning, my scope, but now, we just need to make a decision whether, which way we're gonna go. Charge and no charge, 255 or zero.
Just so I'm clear, the $2.50 fee was included in the,
It's a monthly fee.
already in the budget, correct? Yes. I think that's kind of already been decided on as well.
All right.
Yes.
Yes. All right, and so they'll have that ready for us for January's agenda, Mr. Jefferson.
January agenda, so a target date for us getting all this in place, you know, how long it might take to get these cans ready to go, service and all that, to be able to put out to these customers.
Takes about 6 weeks on order, 6 to 8 weeks. So once we get the,
So we're gonna look at what, like April
April will be fair.
2025?
get the second reading in February, then I could go ahead and order them in January.
Okay, we'll talk to
But
you.
that would be up to y'all's call, because I don't want to order them without the ordinance passed.
Sure.
All right, that'll work.
How big are they?
96 gallons.
96 gallons.
All right,
All right, moving on to item 5, Alpha dash 2. That's the roads.
all right, look, roads and, well, I said roads and streets,
Yes,
but
sir.
pretty much. I brought this up in certain streets. These streets that I'm gonna call 4th Street, which is along the, at Walker, at the corner of Walker, along the railway to Lime Street. We're looking at Spruce in my neighborhood, unmanned street, but it's still a service road and all that. It's a street, it's listed as a street. And then we looked at Lyle and Mussey. These are short streets. They're 500 feet, 700 feet, 800 feet. And the one on 4th Street might be a little bit more, say 1,000 feet or 1,200 feet. But these are low maintenance because you really don't have to, if I'm correct, don't have to do too much work on the structure, on the ground, for it's changed out water line and sewer lines and all that stuff. But those can be easily done and paved without having a great, tremendous cost to and have a hard hit on our budget. But when I talk with and someone's gonna talk about interlocal agreement with our county, well, we've been kicking that can for years. And I talked with the county, 2 county commissioners, my county commissioner, one of them, the county is slated for 2025 to do a lot of paving out in the county. And so that put us way back on the back burner. But these are little short streets that we have, and that doesn't take much structure to do and pave, and perhaps put out some bids. And it's going to be a low cost and probably a budget. I think we should be able to stop kicking the can once again, move on these projects, let our citizens see something going on. Of course, we got several projects over around District 2 and some of the other districts. There are road improvement, street improvement, and all of that. But let's begin to move some things and let our citizens begin to see. We always talk about growth, we always talk about beautification and all of that. Let's go ahead and determine some things, get some things done. Once again, my target date might be April, that we start doing these little side streets that won't cost much. If window wheel was $45,000 to do a couple of years ago, and I think the street for the old cemetery, East Side Cemetery, probably less than that, then I think some of these little 800 feet, 1,000 feet, 1,200 feet street, we can do the same and get these road improved and make our community once again look even better until we get to some of these major projects where we can call in the county to do some of these things, Duval, Henderson, and yeah, those streets as well. So that's where I'm at with that, and I would love that we move this and stop this once again, like I said, repetitively, kicking the can down the road and giving false hope to our citizens.
We still have so many water leaks everywhere. I don't know how people can concentrate on paving streets compared to stopping the water, stopping the water. I drove down one street just yesterday, and we've got water bubbling up in the middle of the road, bubbling up, running over here and wherever. So I think we got a,
Well, those, there are money for those projects, and I think some of those, Mr. Sitchin can talk on that, elaborate on that public work. Those, I think all those problems we have with the busted pipes and all that has been taken care of. But we're talking about these roads that does not have
I don't think so.
those problems that we have. Because I've checked those roads out. The one on 4th Street is a dirt road. The one on Spruce Street is a dirt road. And Mussey is a dirt road. Lyles, matter of fact, those two in your district, and they put it to my district. Those are still dirt roads, and we should be beyond those.
I do agree we do that, but I think that we've got to get control of this water and this whatever is breaking our pipes, which I have a theory of, but whether my theory is, I should say anything about it, because I think it's all of these big FEMA trucks going down our roads with the double ones picking up huge trees and putting it in there and overweighing everything on our roads, and our roads are so old that that's probably one of the great big reasons why all of this started, because we had none of it before FEMA came in and did all this.
So I'm not trying to be
I know.
the cloud over here, but I want to make sure we stay on the topics
Right.
and on task. And so I think, Mr. Jefferson, I'm in full agreement with you on the roads, and if we can find the money, that's awesome. The problem is obviously the money, but number two, I think these items have to be addressed and put into the budget well in advance, unless there are some creative grant opportunities or things of that nature. So
Well, I think
that's a discussion that you could have, offline with Mr. Sessions and even Mr. Lee, and to ask those type of questions there.
let me interrupt you for a moment. I'd have talked with them, they understand. And this main thing, this get put on record, because time and time again, they can tell you I'm just aggravating, because every time they see me, I'm talking about these particular roads and streets and all of that, and looking at, I got jail looking at different things, how much it would cost to do Spruce Street. Only thing you got to worry